some news. We're going to do items 90 through 100 on the checklist. Salute to the Twist Army. This Week in Startups Army is ready to go. The Twist Nation, the Jason Nation, ready to get it started. Can't wait for my noties to get in here and just say noti in the chat. And that is my noti gang. I have to load my chat software from Restream. Love that Restream. They got a couple of competitors. I know people are telling me about the competitors. I know we're sticking with Restream. I like Restream. It's a pretty great. Brandon Francis, Walton, Dornish is here. Table Salt, Will Boardman. I mean, those are four high quality noties coming in. Of course, brother Jamie Calacanis here. I mean, talk about a starting five on the noties. We're off to a great start. Zen Prophet, OG Bob G in here. I don't see STG80. Surge Dog is here, so that's great. Great way to start things out. John Shealy, Inside Noti. He manages all the events over there, and we're doing really good with the Inside social news product. And I think $150,000 came in already in our equity crowdfunding, so that's fun. Excited to have people be part of republic.co/inside. People placing small bets on my team over there, and that's a lot of fun. So welcome, everybody. Very important for everybody at youtube.com/thisweekend to give a thumbs up right now for your squad so that we can game and break and smash that YouTube algorithm. Every time you give a thumbs up, it shows it to 10 more people. 10 of you do it. It shows it to 100 people. Another 10 people come in. They watch it. Boom. You know how it works, folks. You know what it's about. Will Boardman is here. Gordon Gill is here. Joe K is here. Patrick is here. So many great names. George Lee is here. Who am I missing? About San Francisco. Don't know what that's about. Abdullah is here again. Christina on the first LinkedIn coming in. If you're on LinkedIn, go ahead and give us a shout out. Everybody in the chat, tell us where you're calling in from, and tell us what state, city, whatever, where you're calling in from, and what's the plan for the weekend. Okay, it's Thursday. Tell us what's the plan for the weekend. I want to know what you got on deck for the weekend. Anybody got big plans? Can't wait to see Spider-Man with my daughter next week. That's my big plan. I took my 11-year-old turned 12 yesterday, so we had a nice little dinner for her last night and have a party for her this weekend. So great stuff going on here. And then this weekend, one of my besties is having a little holiday party. I'll go to that. And then it's maybe if there's a little snow, I might get some of that fresh pow-pow. A little fresh pow-pow going. All right. Let's get started. When we get into the news, first up is the Brian Armstrong and Tether getting called up at the crypto. 3, 2, okay. In our first story today, Brian Armstrong and Tether got called out by a senator for skipping the crypto hearings on Wednesday. Here's a little background. The House Financial Services Committee hosted a number of crypto executives, Circle CEO Jerry Miller, who's been on the program, FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried was there. Coinbase's CFO was there, but not the CEO. Paxos CEO Charles was there. And some other lesser-known crypto executives. Of course, when people talk about crypto, a lot of okay boomer moments, a lot of stuff trending on TikTok and Twitter. But you do see I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but from the clips I did see, we're starting to see, I think, a more mature group of executives who are playing by the rules and an increasingly intelligent discourse with the government. So, we're going into the second decade of this crypto journey, and it feels like the second decade of the internet, which is to say, people are starting to understand what's going on here. There are obviously a ton of issues around stablecoins, according to Bloomberg's write-up. Stablecoin regulation was the most discussed topic, especially due to Tether's absence and, of course, their horrific track record of disclosures and fines and general shenanigans. We've talked about Tether and the Tether investigation, hashtag Tether investigation on Twitter on a number of episodes, 1232, 1243, 1250, and 1300. Brian Armstrong not making it. That's a little weird for me. He did call out the SEC. He is the biggest player in the space. he should have been there. I'm not sure why he didn't show up. It could have been a personal reason, but the CFO is pretty good to have there as well. But that could have been a strategic mistake, because if you call out people for not meeting with you and then they have a meeting and you don't show up, not a great look, I'll be honest. But who knows? Maybe he had an excused absence. Somebody's kids, in a play or something. Tether missing. Well, that's to be expected. I mean, I think if they land on the ground here, who knows? The DOJ could have warrants out for them that we don't know about. There could be all kinds of shenanigans if you've been getting fines at the rate they're getting them. And there are these questions. You never know what's going on in the background. I hate to be a conspiracy theorist. But here's Brad Sherman, a Democratic representative from California, calling them out in this 52-second clip. I'll see you on the other side.
The fact is that the advocates of crypto represent the powers in our society. The powers in our society on Wall Street and in Washington have spent millions and are trying to make billions or trillions in the crypto world. These include Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Visa, BlackRock, Citadel, Musk, and Zuckerberg, not to mention the CEOs that are before us here today. The regulators need to listen to this hearing very carefully. With all the money and power on one side, we will not be able to pass meaningful legislation. And if you wonder about where the power is, Zuckerberg had to come here himself and sit there. Brian Armstrong sent his number 2. And Tether doesn't bother to show up at all. Zuckerberg did not have a day in the park. He did not enjoy it, but he had to come. Armstrong didn't, and Tether ain't here at all.
Okay, so Tether is in the crosshairs. You can't operate an at-scale stablecoin worth tens of billions of dollars and not show up when you're respectfully asked to come and have a discussion about the impact of these stablecoins on society. And, he's dead right in that. Interesting that he's making some comparison here to the power of crypto to that of Wall Street and tech writ large, like the major tech companies. I'm not sure if that's exactly correct, but certainly there are a lot of concerns, I think, of a contagion. And also, let's be totally honest, crypto is competing with the banks and the banking system, and it's also competing, especially stablecoins, with the U.S. dollar. And the U.S. dollar is, a locus of power for politicians. We are at their mercy when it comes to what they decide to spend, how they spend it, printing more money, and monetary policy generally. I mean, obviously, we elect them and we can take them out of office, but USDT, USDC, other cryptocurrencies, if people decide they want to opt out of having a Bank of America or Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, pick the bank, and they decide, you know what, I want to just keep my money at Coinbase, and I'm going to take my paycheck and I'm going to direct deposit it into, a bank, but then I'm going to quickly wire it over to my crypto holdings and buy crypto with it, or stocks at Robinhood, or crypto and stocks at Robinhood, or just crypto over at Coinbase. I mean, this has a serious impact, I think, on the future of our government's control over money. Some people say that's a good thing. Some people say it's a bad thing. It's a little bit of both. There's upside to having control over the monetary system, and there's obviously downside. Depends on how things are executed. On December 14th, the Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs will hold their own hearing on the risk of stablecoins. So they are clearly front and center in people's minds. According to Bloomberg write-up, the President's Working Group on Financial Markets recently proposed 4 stablecoin issuers. Let me take that again. This is a quote from the Bloomberg article. The President's Working Group on Financial Markets recently proposed for stablecoin issuers to effectively become banks with insured deposits. That makes complete and total sense to me. They basically are printing a new currency. They're printing poker chips, and there is a real danger there if that money were to go away. After the hearing concluded, Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder and CEO of crypto trading platform FTX, tweeted the following. Huge thank you to Maxine Waters, Patrick McHenry, and the whole House Financial Services Committee for having us today to talk about the future of digital assets. The meeting was productive, and I'm really grateful for the engagement and thoughts from policymakers. I came in expecting some hostility and grandstanding, but instead found the discussion to be, by and large, productive and helpful. I'm excited to keep engaging with lawmakers and regulators to refine the regulatory landscape. So I think what you're seeing here is actually quite productive. The people who are the bad actors, the shady actors, most people would put Tether into that bucket, are now it's becoming apparent who they are. And then the people who are the good actors are having productive dialogues. And, I think we all have the same goal. The good actors, politicians, and other regulatory groups, everybody just wants to see this be orderly. We don't want to see people be hurt. And we don't want to see a bubble, because when bubbles burst, there's this issue of contagions, the black swan kind of issue. And so we need to get ahead of this. This is long overdue. And really, to have some sort of regulatory environment here that made it more clear would be good. And it also needs to be fair. We have a group of people in the world, myself included, venture capital firms included, private equity firms, banks, hedge funds, who are playing by the rules. Companies going public, Republic, Seed Invest, various platforms, Seed Invest being owned by Circle now. All of those platforms are spending tons of money on regulations, legal, accounting, in order to be compliant. And then on this other side, people are popping up DAOs and coins, and then like XRP, which is super shady. And they're doing whatever the hell they please. And they don't care about securities law in the majority of cases. And let's face it, they're running amok. They're breaking the law. And our government takes 3, 4, 5 years in order to process people who break the law. That's just the nature of it, right? We don't want to live in a society where people are being arrested willy-nilly. We want to have a thoughtful process of when somebody does get investigated, taken to trial. We want to have due process, of course. That means when a group of people en masse become bad actors, like the ICO movement, the rush to secure the bag, the rush to steal money, to bilk, grandmas and grandpas and unsuspecting civilians out of their money is great. And we know the grifts: painting the tape, wash trades, pumping and dumping, pump rooms, people buying NFTs, selling them to themselves and their friends, and then lowering the price and giving people a deal on an NFT that is worthless. All the shenanigans that are going on. It's going to take years for all those regulatory committees to ask for information and then to find them. Look at how long Tether has operated before they got fined. And then the really bad actors, which I believe Tether is one of, they will use the fact that they're not been stopped as proof that they are legal. Like, oh, shouldn't we have been stopped by now? Or, we just paid a small, 20, 30, 40, whatever, $1 million fine. Oh, that was just a speeding ticket. They make up these excuses. But if you look at ICOs, you just type in ICOs and the SEC, you're going to find them going after people. And those are ICOs that happened, 4, 5, 6 years ago? So the law is slow, but it is pretty harsh, as you can ask the founder of the Silk Road, who at a very young age built a website that he thought was eBay for people who wanted to trade cannabis. And he is going to be in jail for life, plus I think like 40 or 80 years. So he's never getting out. I mean, there's a big movement to try to get him out. But this is serious stuff. And I think this is great. It'd be really great if this led to rethinking accreditation laws, because all of the crypto projects seem to not even know what those are. The number of investors allowed, when I do a syndicate or somebody does a Reg D on an equity crowdfunding, there's a dollar limit, there's the number of people, there's accounting you have to do. There's all these protective provisions. And let's face it, some people are doing them and other people are not. Let's all look at those laws and say which ones are still valid and which ones are not. I love the fact that people are getting an education. I love the fact that people are betting on the future. All of that is great. I just don't want to see anybody, and nobody does, face the risk of ruin. And I don't want to see anybody be the victim of fraud. And we know there's a ton of fraud there because this is super non-regulated. Conversely, we don't want to see the United States fall behind. And so my very simple regulatory framework was if a project has a market cap of under $10 million, let it register, let it exist without too much red tape. When it hits 50 million, give it a different designation, and then over 100 million, okay, everybody who's participating has to be legit. So, if you want to be the nodes or the routers, or you want to be transferring coins, all that kind of stuff, you're going to need either licensing, you're going to need to put your social security down, you're going to have to sign paperwork to say you're responsible for making sure that there's not fraud, to make sure that it's KYC, to make sure there's not money laundering, all that stuff that is, a critical part of running a functioning society. So I feel like I hate to be super positive here, but I feel like we're trending in the right direction, and that everybody is. You tell me, but it feels like people are on the same side now, and I think people are getting a little more. I think they're getting a little more realistic that this isn't going away, but it needs to have some rules of the road, and that we can, as a society, come to them together. The tiered regulation of crypto projects, my suggestion, is brilliant because it allows innovation. It doesn't stifle innovation, but with great power comes great responsibility. So if Tether was a $10 million product, who cares? But if it's 10 billion, they should be treated a different way. If it's 10 billion, you need to get a license. You need to be here in the United States. Your CEO needs to sign documents. You need to be audited, not attestations, and other nonsense, right? Also, look for, I predict, taxes and all kinds of tax-related and reporting regulation to come very soon. And we know that that's been in some of these recent bills. Moving on in the news, I saw that Adele, who is wonderful, and I'd love to see her in concert. I was just on, when Chrome surfaces stories for you, I saw this, that she was upset that the resale prices for her concerts in Las Vegas in January are going for between $2,000 and, wait for it, $35,000 a ticket. Show is called Weekends with Adele, and she's going to be playing on Fridays and Saturdays from January to April. That's a run. Oh my God, how much money is she going to make? According to TMZ, pre-sale tickets sold out in minutes due to bots, of course. Interestingly, the TMZ article noted that last week, Democrats in Congress introduced Stopping Grinch Bots Act, and this would stop ticket resellers from using bots to buy tickets instantly before actual fans can get to them. And it wouldn't just cover tickets; it would also cover other highly desirable things like holiday toys and sneaker drops. That's a lot of regulation from the government, probably unnecessary for the government here. I just had an idea I wanted to float with you. We've been talking about NFTs, and you can make them smart contracts. So everybody who goes to a concert gets an NFT. It has their ticket. It's got a hologram of whatever. Maybe it includes, a live music, or the rights to play the live music from your show. Maybe they take a picture of everybody. You get a picture of yourself there. You can do all kinds of fun stuff. But more importantly, they would be resellable only at up to 10% more than you paid for them. That's it. Only 10% more. And you can only resell it twice, maybe. In other words, if I bought the tickets, I could sell them one time and that person could sell them one time. So the most it could go up is $100 ticket would go to 110, and then it would go from 110 to 121. And of course, Adele or could get that money, or she could say, any resales, I would like to give to this charity. So yeah, by all means, resell it if you can't make it. But that would be a beautiful way for us to stop this. And I don't even think you would need to be too involved in crypto to do this, because you could give people their ticket in a wallet like Apple does, or Ticketmaster does, or any number of people do with, a unique hash, password, whatever. It would only be if you want to resell it that you would need to get into crypto or whatever. So most people who are not reselling it, they would be fine. But when you go show up for the concert, in these high value tickets, why not have the ticket when it's purchased, the person who bought up to 4 tickets, at least one of those people has to show their driver's license, right? When I go to a conference and I bought a ticket, when you go to TED or, other Recode conference, whatever, and you pick up your ticket, your name is on your pass, right? So this could be a little bit of pain for individuals because you'd have to know who you're going to bring to the concert with you. But if you at least know the person who bought them is going, and then, their plus one could maybe not have to show their names. But this would be better for fans. And the Grateful Dead did this. They would sell their concert tickets themselves. You would be on their mailing list. You'd send them an envelope. They had a bunch of people in an office somewhere up in Mill Valley, north of the Golden Gate Bridge, and they would email you tickets to your shows, and they just took control of their own things. And NFTs is a great way to do that. I'm guessing there are 78 startups that have written white papers, and nobody's written a line of code for this yet. If anybody in the crypto space has done more than write a white paper with spelling errors in it, and you've actually written some code and can do a product demo, I'd love to see it. Was the big problem. Every time I meet somebody, I was in Art Basel, everybody's telling me they got the greatest project ever. So can you show me a demo? And they're like, oh, we haven't done it yet, but we've just raised 10 million at 150 million posts. And I'm like, but you haven't built anything yet? Like not one line of code. Nobody's building anything. Everybody's talking. I want to see product demos. Let's see some product demos, folks. All right, let's get on to the startup checklist.
Great. And then before we do Guess the Fake Startup, I have an intro for you for tomorrow's show, which you'll go in front of.
Okay. What do you want me to do now?
Can you read? Let's do Guess the Fake Startup if you're up for it.
Okay. But I have hey everybody right here.
Yep. So you're going to do the intro for tomorrow's show and then lead right into Guess the Fake Startup.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2. Hey, everybody. We have a great show for you today. You're going to meet 4 startups that I've invested in. That's right. 4 startups. They get 10 minutes each. You're going to hear about some really interesting startups and what they're building in the SEC. You're going to get to meet 4 great startups. One of them is working in SEO using AI. Another one is aggregating and making alerts and searches for resale marketplaces. You know those where people are buying used clothing, and it's a big trend. We also have somebody who's built Superhuman for calendars, and finally, really amazing productivity tool that helps you stay more focused. And producer Rachel has another OK Boomer segment for us today about digital nomads. But first, we're bringing back an old segment that everybody loved. Yes, that's right. It's going to be time for Guess the Fake Startup. Let's get to work. Stick with us.
Nice.
Okay.
Now let's do it. Do you want all of us to come on screen at the same time, or you want to pull us up one by one to pitch the startups?
I like the idea of a 4x4 grid. That sounds fun to me.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go.
And then I have a little
look at Nick with
explainer
his super purple lighting. Not bad.
Yeah, I got bullied into improving my background.
All right. And Rachel is on the set of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And Justin is a serial killer. Perfect.
That's
awesome. It's a joke. Come on, lighten up. Tom Selleck, a young Tom Selleck in his high school bedroom. No.
Rachel looks
I think he's the only one who doesn't live with his parents. All right. So we're going to do Guess the Fake Startup.
That's wildly false.
It's a joke.
I'm married. You think I live with my parents? I mean, no shade to anyone who's married and still living with their parents, but.
Well, that's like Goodfellas. What kind of people are you?
Yeah.
Who lives like this? Your father hasn't been able to hold down a meal in ages.
All
right. What kind of people are you, Joe Pesci? What kind of people are you?
How's this though, Jason?
That's my favorite
that
scene.
little prop.
Is that a
I
laser
like
printer?
that. Angel.
Oh, the book. Okay, all right. Pandering. I like it.
So
like
Nick,
I like
would've
that
had,
scene
like,
when
how do you wanna
Henry's
do
like, he just starts laughing at her mom.
Henry.
And he's like,
enough. He walks back out. They come home with we're talking about the Goodfellas scene when Henry Hill comes back at like 6 a.m. and he's living with his mother and father-in-law, but they're all waiting in the living room for them to get home from his crazy all night out.
who lives like this?
Who lives like this? What kind of people? The mother-in-law.
Oh, speaking of moms, we have let's get to the Guess the Fake Startup.
Okay, here we go. In 3.
Oh, wait. Sorry. Everybody, please, Rachel and Justin, start your quick times.
Just tell us what number you're at with your quick time.
3.2 MB.
2 minutes,
21
15 seconds.
Okay, good. Everybody's got
So
it.
Nick, how do you want to do this with the sting, with the intro music?
I'll introduce it. You play it. I'll talk
Great.
over it.
Oh, talk over it. It's it comes
Got
up
audio.
the screen.
It's
Yeah,
full
a
screen, but you'll hear me saying, "Okay, everybody, it's time for
Right. We'll have it on your quick time. Yeah,
fake
you're right.
startup."
Okay.
Got it.
So 3, 2. Your host and contestant, Jason Callaghan, is with me, the 3 producers of This Week in Startups. Big Nick, producer Rachel reporting, and Tom Selleck's nephew, producer Justin. Strong stash game. I actually sent producer Justin a picture of me with my COVID mustache, which lasted for under 5 minutes. I shaved, I showed it to my wife, and she walked me back to the bathroom to take it off. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, Justin. What'd you major
From
in
Connecticut.
college?
I currently live in Brooklyn, but
Okay. Any
yeah,
hobbies, Justin? Any hobbies you like to do there in Brooklyn?
yeah, I like to make music and play DJ recreationally.
All right, DJing in Brooklyn. And how
Yeah.
about you, producer Rachel? Where are you from and any hobbies that you like to do? Something on the weekend, yoga, maybe knitting?
I got into crocheting recently. Charles, before you get into this, did my video change at all?
Yes,
Looks
it
fine.
did. I don't know what happened, but it looks fine.
Looks fine.
Just move yourself
Okay.
centered a bit.
There you go.
Okay.
I really like, so I think for hobbies, my number one would definitely have to be traveling.
All right, very nice. Any places, any destinations that you really covet, somewhere you want to go?
Number one place I've been recently was Lisbon. I went 2 years ago, and it was one of those trips where you don't plan anything, and it was just the cheapest one. It ended up being one of the best trips I've ever been on. So Lisbon would definitely be number one.
Okay, and where do you want to go in the future? Any
I've
destinations on the bucket list?
never been to Asia, and I've never been to Australia or New
Okay.
Zealand. So
Two
those
great
three,
destinations,
yeah.
long flights.
really long flights. Yeah.
And how about you, Nick?
What do you want? Hobbies?
Yeah, what do you like to do when you got that long weekend? When you got the Monday off?
Um,
Long weekend plans for you?
I like hanging out with my friends and snowboarding.
All right.
Yeah.
Cracking up a couple of cold brewskis and hanging out with your friends, maybe taking in a little bit of the NFL. Okay, we've got our game show today. Guess the fake startup. Everybody knows the rules. My three producers are going to each present me with one startup. Each. They will describe the startup. And using my powers of deduction, I will figure out which of the three startups is the fake startup. Two will be real, one will be fake, and I will figure it out. We'll go around the horn here.
And just to, we're going to give you 3 data points: the name of the startup, a 1-sentence description of what they do in plain English, and a quote from their website.
Perfect. Okay, I'm ready. Let's go in clockwise. So that means Justin, Nick, and then ending with you, Rachel. Justin, tell us the first startup.
This startup is Mamma Mia, a membership-based dating app for Italian men looking for women or men who treat them as good as their mothers do. It's also for people looking for men that need to be taken care of. A quote from their website: "Matches so good, they'll make your mother jealous."
Mamma Mia is a site for Italians
Yes.
who want to fit into specific stereotypes, men who want to be taken care of by women who will take care of them like their moms did, is what you're telling me. Got it.
Exactly. Somebody
Okay.
who appreciates Italian culture. There's
Okay.
about
Got it.
5.5 million Italians in America.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Didn't ask for that statistic, but interesting that you would provide it. Nick, go ahead.
The second company is also a date. All 3 companies are dating apps. The second one is called The Locks Club. It's a private membership-based dating app for Jewish people. They're aiming to be the Disney of dating. And a quote from their website is, "This is for Jews with ridiculously high standards."
Okay.
The Locks
The
Club.
Locks Club wants to be like the Disney Corporation, and it's for Jewish people who have incredibly high standards. There is no way on earth that you would compare that to Disney. That makes no sense. This is a ridiculous comparison. You're saying that's what they say on their website.
They are aiming to be the Disney of dating. That's what they
That's
claim.
what they say on their website. Okay. That is completely nonsensical, which means it's a real startup because only a startup founder could say something so completely nonsensical. All right. So I'm doing good so far. Okay. Producer Rachel, tell us the third startup.
So the third startup is Short King Dating. It's a dating app for men 5'8" or shorter, and to join and get access to the
That's
short
a real
king.
startup.
Okay.
Keep
So
going.
do you know it? Or
No.
something?
No,
Okay.
nope.
How do you
I
know
could just
about
tell that there's a short guy out there who has this problem and he's solving his own problem. Keep going.
Uh-huh.
Tell me what the website says.
His own ideal customer.
To
Okay, tell me what the
join and
website
get
says.
access to Short Kings, you actually have to be a Short King lover. And a quote from their website is, "Tall, dark, and handsome is outdated, and kings are in short supply. Don't let height get in the way of true love."
Okay. So we have 3. Short Kings, Mamma Mia, and the Locks Club. Now, I'm going to ask you each to repeat the line from the website. Justin, repeat the line from the website. Okay, you got to put your
Match is so
microphone on.
good, it will make your mother jealous.
Okay. Match is so good, it'll make your mother jealous. Nick?
For Jews with ridiculously high standards.
That's the line from the website? Not that
Yes.
they want to be the Disney. Okay.
No.
Okay. And Rachel, go ahead.
Tall, dark, and handsome is outdated, and kings are in short supply. Don't let height get in the way of true love.
Okay. Very easy today. For me, I'll take you through my thinking. There is a issue with short men because many women, if we're talking about heterosexual relationships, and this is a heteronormative description, a lot of women say they need to date somebody who's taller than them, which then if you start dipping into the 5, 3, 4, 5 category, you start getting left out of the average height of women, especially if they're wearing heels. So this is an acute issue. It is the most likely real one. You would never come up with the Jewish dating one for fear of offending somebody, which means the fake one is Mamma Mia.
You are correct.
Well done.
Of course I'm correct. I am an expert on startups. You cannot beat Cal at this game. You
That's
tried
good
your
game
hardest.
theory, though. So your theory was we wouldn't come up with the Jewish one because we wouldn't want to offend anyone. So you're saying
But
we
you
wouldn't
would
create that
come up
one
with the
in our
Italian
mind.
one. Correct.
That's smart.
That's how I did it.
I think
We've
it would be
gotta
really
level up.
cool. Oh, wait, keep going.
Did you guys think you were going to beat me? Did you guys really think you had a chance?
I did. I thought Short King. I mean, I thought Locks Club sounded fake.
Locks Club is such a terrible name. It has to be real.
It's so
such
good. It's so
apparent-
funny.
It is
It's like
such
the
an
dating app.
Listen, if you made it up and you weren't Jewish, it could be offensive.
Well,
But if you're
there's like
Jewish and you
date-
call it Locks Club, I mean, listen, if you called the Italian one the Pizza Club, the Pasta
Yeah.
Club, like that could actually be offensive if you didn't
Yeah.
call it that.
yeah,
But
there's like
Mamma
Jason-
Mia, it's quite charming and sweet. Everybody loves their
people
mom.
clamoring for a Mamma Mia in the comments, by the way. Clamoring for
They
it.
want
We
us
need
to
a
build
Mamma
that
Mia.
startup.
They
They
want
want it
Mamma
to
Mia.
exist.
Yeah. I think the market is there. Just lazy Italian men.
It might be.
I
Oh,
would
riddles.
say
riddles.
Mamma
Italian
Mia.
market.
Well, see, Nick is from an Italian family, and so I know he wrote that one. Was that
I
Nick's
did write that
creation?
one. I
Of
did
course.
write that one.
So
Yeah.
that's another little bit of a mini tell I had, but I can walk you through how I came through it, so you can do better next time in tricking me. And this is where leveling comes in because I'm giving you the tips on how to trick me next time. Locks Club is a ridiculous name. It's a ridiculous name. So it's got to be real. And this concept of being the Disney of dating is something only a deranged founder would say. I want to be the Disney of dating. Like only a founder could say something so ridiculous. Like there is no Disney of dating. Disney is a totally different company. Amusement parks, merchandise, Star Wars. It makes no sense. Movies.
You definitely don't have to return to dating over and over and over again, too.
Exactly. Short Kings. Clever name. Clever name because it's owning that you're short. And to Nick's point, Nick nailed it, that there is an ideal customer profile here. And I think it is an acute problem for folks. And so, great job this week. I don't know my track record on all of these, but when we find our Twist archivist, whatever maniac wants to dip into these 1,200 episodes of insanity as a career, some maniac will do it. They can find all the Guess the Fake startups. We've done them 20, 30 times in the early days because it's so funny and incredible. Everybody who's here watching live, did you think I would get it? And what did you think of my logic?
Great comments.
I haven't even watched it. Line offensive, exactly. Love guess the startup. Do it more often. Lock clubs like a take on Coffee Meets Bagel. Exactly. They did. I was thinking of Coffee Meets Bagel, which I had a chance to invest in. I didn't. I heard it's doing very good. Napoleon approves. Napoleon approves of short men dating. Table Salt 64 is here, so that's good.
The Short King dating website too is very funny because they give, like every website.
Oh, pull it up. Show the audience.
Right.
Pull up.
They,
You got to pull up the real ones. And then if somebody in the audience really would like to do a big long troll, absolutely 100% make a landing page for Mamma Mia. Like just make the landing page and sign up for them, and it'll be hilarious. It could become like an.
So here's Short King dating, and why I think
make
this
it 3
is really
times
funny
bigger so we can read it. Make it a little bigger. Okay,
I want to zoom into the
so
they have like
wait, why is that woman looking up?
Well, they have little profile examples, right? So,
okay, that woman looks like she's 6 foot.
Yeah, well, so it's like Phil, 24, sales at a startup, and then Sarah, 26, she's 5'10",
but she's looking up.
She's looking for short kings, is what she's doing.
But she's not going to find them up there in the clouds. She should be looking down.
No,
it'll be more accurate.
No.
Okay, and this, I mean, who's dating this guy? This guy looks like a serial killer with that bandana on him. Just what is that?
He must be a short king or a short king lover. Okay.
Oh, that's right. Because you don't necessarily. It could be any combination of short kings and short king lovers. All right. Well, they have.
It's not launched yet, though.
All right. So let's play us out with the infographic. Everybody, 3, 2, 1, guess. It's our Freaky Fridays. That's my crazy. I've always wanted to host a game show. That is the greatest job in the world. They get paid like $20 million a year. They tape 6 episodes in one day. You just walk through it. I mean, that is a cakewalk to print money. For the love of God, I will do Match Game PM. I'll do Hollywood Squares. I will crush it on one of those shows. Please, somebody, for the love of God, I will go to Burbank and secure the bag. That is my dream gig. Calling my agent. Get me that gig.
Can everyone rate the well, we're going to do checklists right after this, but everybody rate Guess the Fake Startup.
Guess the Fake Startup. Rate Guess the Fake Startup as a segment.
I will say it's almost like cheating doing dating apps because there's so many ridiculous ones that
I agree.
Yeah, you can just make up
quote.
whatever.
Look at this head jobs quote. Focus on your startup, your bag's already made.
Get to work on your startup. I made your bed. You got the mozzarella. I'm going to make you some nice manigot. Nick, you don't know anything about this.
Yeah.
Nick's mom is the greatest Italian mother ever. Period.
Yeah.
Full stop. When she's cooking, I'm driving
crazy
almost 2 hours to get her. She makes stuffed shells, chicken parm, eggplant parm. And when I come
I did my first load of laundry like last week. That's how severe it was growing up.
Oh, you did your first load?
Yeah, I'm kidding.
You're like, that's what those machines do.
Yeah, I'm like, what are these things? I got to college. I'm like, what the hell is this thing? Yeah.
You thought they were like a closet? You like put your
What is this thing my mom's always looking into all the time? I don't know what the hell this thing is.
Basically, you would just drop your clothes on the floor and then magically they would wind up in your drawers. Oh, yeah. That's the Italian mother. All right. Okay, let's get into this.
Did you say let's get to the interview yet, Jason?
3, 2. All right, let's get to this amazing interview. Who's the interview with?
LA23, 4 founders.
3, 2. All right, let's meet our 4 founders that I've invested in every single one of them.
All right, nice.
Okay. So now
if you pop over to the checklist page, there's a little intro to the checklist, episode 10 itself. It recaps like the last 9 that we've covered.
And by the way, everybody, smash the like button for your squad. They did a great job. Good job, producers here. And it's going to get even more fun when Molly's here. Then we'll have 6 people on air every day. And who knows? Maybe we'll be on air every day for the same time every day. And it could be a fun thing. 100-point checklist. We're getting through this 100-point checklist. We're now down to the last 10. We got so many people gave us ideas for the last 10. And There's a Notion page for this, as everybody knows. And I think I want to make this into an ebook eventually, or maybe even a real book. So I'm going to talk to Cuddy about that. I think this could be like a self-published book, the Startup Checklist. We could rev through it. And I was thinking about just making it like a paragraph, Nick, a spiral bound with a bunch of text, like where you could write it, like almost like a journal.
Yeah.
And you could give it out to everybody in like at an offsite meeting. You buy 5 copies of it for your offsite for $20 each. And then everybody writes their notes on that one, what's important to them. And they just say, out of these 100, here's things we should talk about. Okay. Let me see if I can find intro. Here we go. I got an intro. Okay, so you're giving me the first 9 sections, and
so you could just list off what we covered so far, and then
Do we talk? But the news is in front of this, right? Or no?
It is, yeah. So this is going to be your intro to the checklist segment.
Okay, all right. 3, 2. All right, everybody. I can't believe we made it. This was a lot of work, but we are in the 10th of 10 episodes of the Startup Checklist, which was just a crazy idea I had at some point when I was riding my rad power bike to go get some Greek food. And I was like, what if there was a checklist, since we always obsess over these checklists, Checklist Manifesto, great book, where there's a checklist for founders where they could just go through this list when they start a company in their first year and make sure they don't miss something important. Well, here we are. We've done 9 episodes, and today's the 10th. You can see every single item in my notes and all the videos at thisweekinstartups.com/checklist. thisweekinstartups.com/checklist. And this is something you're going to want to print out. And maybe if you got 2 founders and 2 people on your management team, the 5 of you could get together and you can run through this, do it at an offsite, take a weekend, go to LA, go to Phoenix, wherever you're, Austin, Miami. And maybe just for a couple hours a day, you go through these items and just see if any of them are things that are important for your startup. We did it in sections. The first section was what makes a winning founder. So that was about you. The second one was how to choose a business model, critically important. And you want to have that business model dialed in from the start. No excuses. None of this like, we're going to figure it out later. That's lame. You should really think about that early on because product design, customers, and business model, they're all part of the same axis that you have to get right. Our third section was about delighting customers. Then we went on in the 4th section to building a great product. The 5th section was about attracting talent and building a great team. 7th section, marketing. 7th section was about market size and branding. 8th section was about basically optimizing your operations and just being a high operating company. And then in the 9th one, we went into preparing for and completing your fundraising and how to run that really efficient fundraising process. So it's been great. I'm going to make this into an ebook, I think, or maybe I'll just publish it as a book. I'll talk to my book publisher. I'll send her these videos. Maybe this could be a quick book I could do in addition to the one I'm writing. But today we're going to cover the items that you told us we missed, or my team in watching this and going through the list said, this didn't fit into the other categories, but they're critically important. So again, the full checklist, thisweekinstartups.com/checklist. If you are an angel investor, send this to your new founders, first-time founders, first year 0, year 1, and they can catch up. Again, I don't expect that 100 of 100 of these is going to be new information for you. It's a checklist. It's meant to be, some of them are meant to be obvious, but could be great discussion prompts for you and your team. And, get out your journal and start writing and start thinking about these issues. Okay, item number 91 on our startup checklist is understanding lean management. And it's critically important for you, especially in the age of remote work and the pandemic, is to have some kind of reporting system that's not oppressive and micromanaging, and that is led by the individuals. You want individuals on your team who can manage themselves, ideally, and you want managers who don't need to be standing over the shoulder of somebody, watching them at a desk to make sure they're doing their work. If that's the case, you probably hired the wrong people, and maybe you hired the wrong managers. I wrote a post in January of 2019. I titled it Lean Management, the Power of the EOD Report. And I came up with my own little device. And it works really well in Slack because Slack has become kind of where work coalesces. It's kind of like the water cooler or the open floor plan office, and the channels are where people kind of congregate. And a little bit of structure goes a long way. So I said, hey, at the start of the day, when you're checking in, not clock punching, but just letting everybody know, hey, I'm here. You can just make an intention. You can start the day and say, here is what I would like to get done today. Here's what I'm working on today. This serves two very important purposes. Obviously, it lets everybody else know what you're working on, because you might have a manager or a coworker who needs help with something. Maybe what you're doing is much more important and you should do that. Or maybe what they need your help on something else. And so they can look at it and go, oh, that's not super important. Can you help me with this mission critical thing we're doing? Or maybe they can help you. Or maybe they see something you're working on. They say, oh, I already did that. Or I was working on that last year before you even came to the company. Here's like my Excel spreadsheet or my Google sheet where I actually built that model. Maybe that would be helpful for you. So it really makes communication extraordinary. Now, the other reason is for you to feel, I don't know, a sense of purpose at the start of the day. So you're not sitting there going, I'm just going to go into Slack and read messages. I'm going to read the news. I'm going to go into my inbox and get lost for 2 hours, then eat lunch, and then hope nobody notices that I'm kind of coasting in the afternoon, right? You want to have some intentionality. You want to set some goals for yourself. And it's important that you write it, not your manager. If the manager writes it, it's kind of lame. You should be able to write it. You should be able to direct your work. A manager, of course, can reply. Your coworkers can reply. And then you reply to that with what you got done at the end of the day. What's nice about that is we all have all these hours of the day. We're working all hours of the day. We don't have a natural start and end time, which was our commutes to the office. So since we don't have this kind of acts like a commute. You just get that nice warm cup of coffee and you write your start of day. At the end of the day, you follow up with it. And then what I'm seeing people are doing now is in my company is they decided to do it for the entire week. So they do a start of week and an end of week, SOW, Monday morning, EOW, Friday afternoon, and then end of day, start of day, the other days of the week and the other times. So they do 10 of these a week. They could be one bullet point, could be 3. Some people at the end of the week give me 5 sections with 5 bullet points under each. And it really becomes amazing for me as a CEO and a founder to read the end of weeks, because I just now know who on my team is crushing it. And then they start putting links into it. So when my team meets with a company, they will link to their notes on the company. If they're selling ads to a company, they might link to just the company's domain name. And I can say, oh, this company wants to buy ads. So that's kind of interesting. Or if we're hiring somebody, the person says, I'm interviewing people, and they link to their LinkedIn. Okay, great. Now I can see that and say, oh, I'm connected to that person through this person. Communication, people always say, is, the biggest problem at any company. Like literally, if you go to 100 companies and you ask 10 executives at each, now you got 1,000 votes, and you say, what is the biggest problem at this company? 900 plus times they're going to say communication. Why do they say that? Because communication can always be better. Well, some sort of process where people are self-reporting and setting their own goals and doing it in a public fashion, it builds everybody's performance, and it lowers anxiety. Everybody knows what we're working on. And then you can have more rich discussions, because it's not, hey, what are you working on? I know what you're working on. Everybody drinks coffee. They're right there. So they read everybody else's. And then if you're an ambitious person in a company, you're a young person coming into a company, you see what everybody else is doing. Hey, okay, I see this person who's really important is working on diligence. Oh, I see this other person is doing meetings. Maybe I need to be able to, at this venture firm I'm working at, get on the diligence train, right? Or maybe I need to be able to do some of those first meetings or sourcing of companies. And it just levels the playing field of what work is being done in the company. And so you don't have to do my system. And I can tell you, when I instituted this system, I had 1 or 2 people who I really respected say I won't do it. And I didn't respect them all that much afterwards. They just thought, it eventually became clear, the people who didn't want to do this, it was only 2 people really out of like 16. They just weren't doing as much work as their contemporaries. And so it's much more fair, I think, for everybody to just say, hey, here's my contribution to the company, and leave it at that, right? And sink or swim. And I like a meritocracy. So I think it's very important. You can do whatever system you want. Some people like to use 15.5, a company we've invested in. Other people use OKRs. They've got other reporting systems. What's important is that you have some lean management system, and the word lean is in there for a reason. It shouldn't be overbearing. TPS reports from the movie Office Space, we all know those are oppressive. So remember, you don't want to be oppressive. You want it to be led by the individual, and you want to be congratulatory. So I just love to pop in there and just tell people great job or tell me more about this. It just works great. That's item number 91. It's a big item. I spent a little extra time on it. Number 92 is pretty easy. Oh yeah, and one point: don't leave the hardest stuff for the end of the day. When you're deciding on what you're going to work on today, there's some easy things. You can put the hard things first, right? So if you got to make a strategy document or a model for the next 2 years, it gives you a little prioritization, right? I was going to ask people to put how much time they spent on things. I stopped doing that. I did it for a little while at Inside because I wanted to know how long they were spending on newsletters. But once I realized a good newsletter takes some people 2.5 hours, other people 4, that it was going to be between 2.5 and 4, which meant a person who was full-time could write 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and have a little bit of time left over. So I just did that early on so they could share with each other when they started a newsletter, when they finished. And then actually the CMS tells us that anyway, so we don't need it, the content management system. But it lets you also prioritize, right? Okay, item number 92. You got to hire people that are smarter than you. And young founders sometimes get intimidated by people who are better than them. What you want to do, and what I did, was I hired Carol Martesco as an example, who was a legendary independent publisher when I was doing my zines. Elliot Cook, who was an incredible operations and strategy thinker, who's with me to this day. I hired people who were smart. At Brian Alvey, clearly smarter than me, and worked for me, and then was my business partner on Weblogs Inc. Peter Rojas was and Ryan Block, who were partners on Weblogs Inc. Sean Gold, all better than me at what they did. Whether it was their ability to write about tech and blog, they were better than me. They were better bloggers than me, and better at sales and partnership. So hire people who are better than you. This is critically important, and you want people who can do things you can't. And there is this concept at Amazon of the bar raiser. You could do a Google search for that. They try to make every single person they hire somebody who raises the bar in some way. So Molly Wood coming here and helping on This Week in Startups. Well, listen, I mean, she's got a lot more experience, candidly, than the producers I currently have on the show, because she's been doing it for a magnitude longer. So she is a bar raiser. She's going to teach me stuff, and she's going to teach our producers here at This Week in Startup Stuff. And we're up for that, right? Yeah, everybody likes to learn, and we want the show to get better. So hire people smarter than you, hire people who have more experience than you, and then let them teach you and let them make you better. If you're building a team and there's somebody who's a 3-point specialist and your team is not good at 3-pointers, and you get Klay Thompson on your team, all of a sudden that may make everybody a better 3-point shooter, because we're going to see Klay Thompson shoot 300 3-pointers after practice is over, and we can all get in on that, and he can give us tips. Okay, number 93 on our checklist: understand how to spend your capital efficiently. You want to be frugal. You don't want to be cheap. People waste money. I see people do it all the time. Don't waste money. If you have short tasks to do, you're going to, use freelancers. You don't spend $20,000 on a logo when you raise, $1 million. That's a lot of money. But if you had raised $10 million, you can. And you can always spend $500 on a logo now, $5,000 down the road. And when your company's profitable, have a design consultant in and do a $50,000 rebranding, reimagining. There's always time to spend more money later. Office space is a waste of time. You don't need Class A office space. You should have a dump if you have any office space at all. Now everybody's working from home. And when somebody says, hey, I was getting paid this amount at Facebook or Google, you say, well, that's fantastic. If you want to get paid that, go work at Facebook or Google. This is a startup. You're getting compensated with equity. We're all here to build something and to be the underdogs. And you don't even entertain that conversation that you would ever be able to keep up. So you want to allocate your capital intelligently. For marketing, if the marketing doesn't work, you're not just going to hire some agency and blow through your money and hope for the best. You're going to run small tests, tight tests, iterate, and make sure that marketing spend works, and not just spend blindly. I've seen people hire an agency, spend $300,000 on creative, blow through, $700,000 on ads for 3 months, and then they get 100 customers, and it costs them, $10,000 a customer and the customers are only paying $1,000. And it's like, okay, well, that was dumb. Maybe we should have done something as simple as just emailing people or, going to a conference and networking. You have to be frugal, and you have to be guerrilla marketing, and be smart about how you deploy capital early. Professional services, you can always negotiate. If you have an attorney, an accountant, et cetera, you can say, hey, we're young now. Can you cap these fees? Can you work with me here? You don't need to travel to conferences and waste time on that. If you're going to spend $10,000 going to Art Basel, business class and hiring hotels just to see if you can drum up a deal, well, could you have gotten that deal? Could you have hired, if you're going to do one of those business development meetings every month for $120K, could you hire a salesperson who does it over Zoom and emails 10 people a day and does 3 phone calls a day? You probably would have got a lot farther. But maybe you want to go to Art Basel and party. Well, you're going to have to ask yourself, what is the most efficient use? And you are a steward of the capital you're raising from other investors. So be wise about that. Don't be spending money. It's really bad optics when you waste money. When you see a young startup blow 5 or 10% of their money on their office space, and the office space is really nice, and you're like, what are you people doing? Like, spend your money wisely, because you never know when the market could turn. All right, item number 94, attention to detail. I want you to know the value of little big things. There is a website called littlebigthings.co. And it just shows how in user interface, being clever and having little things that people notice, little refinements. You see it when you own a Tesla or an Apple product. You see it when you fly Virgin America or Atlantic. You see it when you go to an Aman hotel or a W hotel. Little things mean a lot. Airbnb CEO Brian Chesky understood a lot of the little details that made things great. As an example, somebody told him on Twitter, like, how come, can you get the upload and the download speed of these locations? Because I go and I've had this happen. I want to do video conferencing at an Airbnb. I got to do the podcast. And they, for some reason, have elected to get the $12 a month internet plan, which can't do video, where they capped it. I was at one place that capped it. We watched 2 movies and then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, you guys ran over the cap. I'm like, we're paying $300 a night. The difference between like the capped internet of $20 and $80 is $60. Just uncap it. And they uncapped it while we were there. But Brian Chesney made a tool that the hosts can actually, with an app, record and then publish to their Airbnb pages what the actual speed of their internet is. So you could search for places where you can work and actually do video conferencing or record a podcast. That's a big little thing, or a little big thing. You want to obsess over little big things. And we just showed you the video if you're watching on YouTube. And I told Brian, I loved him on Twitter for doing this. Seriously, like, little big things are so important, and think that through. Sometimes I was amazed. The first time I ever stayed at a nice hotel, I was staying at Shutters. I was probably 23 or 24 years old. I went for a run on the promenade in Santa Monica. I came back, and I kid you not, the valet or the person who was the bellhop walks up to me with a bottle of water and a towel, like a hand towel. And I looked at him and said, that's not mine. And he said, no, I'm giving it to you for free. It's part of the service here at the hotel. You're sweating, and I thought you might like some cold water. I was like, really? That's incredible. The first time I flew in business class with my friend Doug Rushkoff, they brought warm nuts. I had never had warm nuts in my life. I put my hand in the thing. I was like, whoa, these nuts are hot. And Doug Rushkoff was like, yeah, it's warm nuts. They do it on every flight. I started eating the warm nuts. I was like, why don't we heat our nuts up at home? These warm nuts are incredible. I literally went home and I got a ramekin and I started heating my nuts in my toaster oven. I'm going to do that today. Little big things. They mean a lot. Okay, 95. You need to be able to do back of the envelope math. You hear me do this on the podcast all the time. It's a little party trick I do when I'm meeting with founders. Hey, how many employees you got? Oh, 7. Great. Oh, do you have an office? Oh, yeah, we work. Great. All right. Yeah. What's your sales? Oh, okay. You got $50,000 in sales a month. Okay. Oh, you're in New York. Great. All right. 7 times maybe $9,000, $8,000, $7,000 all in per employee. All right, 7 times 7, 49,000 a month. You have 50, okay, and you're spending 10 on your office space, maybe 10 on legal. You're spending 70. You're making 50. Okay, so I just say, oh, you burns 20, and they're like, our burns 18. How did you know? And then I just tell them the party trick. I talk about it in my book, Angel. You need to be able to do back of the envelope math. and you need to be able to do it quickly, because when you're doing things like talking about pricing, you're talking about expenses. This comes from building your model in Excel or Google Sheets over and over and over again, and just having your calculator up. And I would model everything. Okay, if we have 15 newsletters at Inside, and we can get 3 classified ads a week for $150 each. Just kind of what I went through for Inside. I was like, okay, if we can have 5, my original idea was to just have like 5 classified ads at the end for a job or an event. I was like 5 ads at the bottom, 150 each, 750 a week. And then in my mind, I'd say, okay, 750 times 100 is 75. Divide that in half, 3750, something like that. So maybe 35K, 37K. Okay, 37K per week. Okay, got 750. Okay, if I do 4 episodes a week, if I pay somebody $100, $150 a newsletter, that's 3 hours to write it. That winds up being $30 an hour. Yeah, you can find freelance writers for 30, $40 an hour to do that. And I was just like, okay, this business could work. It's possible it could work. And sure enough, we're profitable this year with a couple $1 million in revenue. And it happened exactly as I thought it would with my back of the envelope math. And I'm doing more back of the envelope math. I just did it with events. I was like, well, I think we could do, each newsletter could do 1 weekly event and then maybe a quarterly event or 2 big events a year. The weekly events, if we got a sponsor to give us $1,000 a week, that'd be $50,000 a year. For those 50 events, we could probably sell it, 15 or 20 events at a time, and get 50 to 200 people at each weekly event. And then I modeled the events business. I was just able to do it in my head after 30 years of being an executive. You really want to be able to do that. Don't be intimidated. You just learn how to use Excel and you put numbers in there, you put it up on your screen, and then you have a little discussion with your team. Hey, how many ads do you think you could sell? What's the minimum number of ads we sell? What would be a price people would pay for those ads? That would be a no-brainer. How many people would we need to have come to the event? How many people would we have to invite to get to 100 people at the event? Okay, we think that 5% of people are going to come. Great. We need to have 2,000 active readers on the newsletter. Okay, we have 8,000 people. We're going to easily be able to get to 100. Okay, great. Maybe we'll set the target at 200 and we'll double the price of the sponsorship. You get the idea. Back of the envelope math, being able to think quickly with numbers, understanding how much revenue you're going to make in a year and how much you spend on the cost to do something will make you be able to just build a model in your head. If anybody's a great chess player, backgammon player, you can look at the board and you know where you are, right? Or you can look at your cards and know where you are. Okay, I have the 8th best hand here. There are 7 better hands in poker. I'm up against 2 other players. There was a raise. There was a re-raise. Everybody's got strong hands. I got a pair of queens and there's an ace and a king on the board. Ain't no chance that those two other players don't have an ace or a king here. My queens are probably dead. I need to get out of here. Like you can really start to understand kind of intuitively where you're at. It doesn't mean you're not going to try for a bluff, but you get an idea of where you're at. So do that back of the envelope math and get good at it. Okay, number 96. Just got to read the Mount Rushmore of management books. There's a debate over which ones. I like Checklist Manifesto. I like Working Backwards. I really love the No Rules Netflix culture book. Some people really like Good to Great. Read the business management books. Some people would say Lean Startup. There's many different ones out there. I gave you 4 or 5 right now. Make sure you read them. Make sure you read them with your team. And when you find a great book where the operating philosophy is something you want to have, buy the book, buy the audio book, and have a discussion with your team about the principles there. Ask them if they finished the book yet. If they didn't finish the book, ask them to finish the book. It really is great for everybody in the company to have read some of these seminal books so that they can share that system and apply it to your company. It's almost like shorthand. So we say Checklist Manifesto, we say Working Backwards in our company. We know we're talking about writing culture and making checklists so that we avoid making mistakes. You get the idea. Item number 97. I think going through your entire product's workflow every week or month is a really good idea. People forget to go through their sign-up forms and they don't refine their products. You really want to look at things with fresh eyes, create a new account, look at that drip campaign, and go through your workflow. Des Traynor was on episode 543 back in 2015, and on that episode, he said all founders should go through their entire product workflow at least 1 time per week. That's pretty intense. This means you sign up as a new user, you go through the onboarding process, and you just understand what it looks like because sometimes you forget. And then what are you going to focus on? How do I make this faster? Less clicks, less friction, less time, less annoyance, and make it clear. Okay, item number 98. You want to avoid shiny object syndrome. This is something I've given you 1,000 metaphors about, but if you've got a business and it's working and Web3 comes out and somebody says, you know what? This Uber thing is amazing, but what if it was a DAO? Airbnb is amazing, but what if it was decentralized? You know what? That's a great thought experiment. But if you've got 100 million customers, they're delighted and you're growing 30% year over year, I would stay focused on that. If you want to put somebody on a little side project here to model something out, that's fine. But too many founders see some shiny new object happen, some new feature, and they don't finish their existing features. They don't refine them, and they never get to true product market fit. So avoid what people in the industry call founder ADHD. And if you find oil, you keep drilling. So many times a founder will say to me, hey, we drilled for oil. We found oil. I'm like, great. You want to drill deeper? And they're like, no, I think I'm going to go over to that stream with this pan and see if I can pan for gold. I'm like, that's a great idea. There's 50 people over there panning for gold. There might be gold there. There's nobody over here on this oil field. Can we just drill for, I don't know, 3 more months, 1 more quarter, and see what happens? That's what I did with the newsletter business at Inside. I just kept drilling. That's what I did with the syndicate. That's what I did with This Week in Startups. I wonder if I did 2 episodes a week, if we get better, 3 episodes a week, if we get better. I wonder if we started Meetups, if it would get better. With Inside, I wonder if we did 5 newsletters, 10 newsletters, 15 newsletters, would it get better? What if we do events? I kept drilling, kept going deeper, pulling the thread and seeing if it gets better. That doesn't mean you just keep launching new products, right? You got to be very careful. A new product means a whole new set of things you need to maintain: products, people, businesses, constituents. Okay, number 99. Align your team around monthly updates. Sending monthly updates to your investors is inspiring, and giving each of your team the ability to track their metrics weekly and then roll them up monthly and then know that that information is going to investors. Man, it puts everybody on point. This is why when we invest in companies, we ask them to send us a monthly update. I would say on average, they send 6, 7, 8 a year. Some people send none. And we just know those people who send none, they're probably doing poorly. They're not good leaders. They don't inspire their team. And so, maybe we made a mistake investing in them, or maybe they need to get a better support team around them because they may just be waiting for good news to happen. And then they run out of money and the investors are like, is this company even in business? I haven't heard from them in 12 months. So keep those monthly updates going. You can look for templates of those monthly updates.
Before you move on, Jason, I would just add, Ashley mentioned that we have some companies in our portfolio that are doing really well that actually that force their team to do an internal monthly update. So not even it's aside from the investor
3, 2, and to be totally honest, the companies in our portfolio that have done the best send a monthly update internally because they want everybody on the team on the same page. So it's not just for investors, it's also for everybody who works in your company to be able to then take in that celebration and just pause for a minute every month on the 15th and say, listen, it's December 15th. Man, sales team killed it in November. Product team killed it. Hey, customer support, we're behind. Our ticket times are taking longer, but we got a plan. Here's the plan. Just absolutely fantastic. Okay, number 11. This is a silly one, but boy, do we see
number
this.
100.
And number 100. Some people are going to think this is silly, and it certainly is a no-brainer. But never lie about where you're at, to yourself, to your team, to investors especially. You want to be candid. You want to be upfront. You want to face the music. If you're drilling for oil and nothing's coming out, you're going to be honest about that. And if 10 gallons of oil are coming out, you tell people it's 10. You don't tell them you're on a run rate for 100 just because 1 gallon happened to come out fast because, I don't know, you just hit a pocket of oil. You never bend the truth. You never lie. You never exaggerate. If people are on a trial and they're not paying, you say they're on a free trial. You don't say they're a customer. You call them somebody who is a free user. They're trialing the software. If somebody's in your pipeline, that doesn't mean they have a free trial. If you give them a free trial and they never log in, they're not on a free trial. You're trying to get them on a free trial. It's important because if you're selling securities, and you're almost always in a startup, either preparing to sell securities or in the process of selling securities, you're committing securities fraud when you lie about the reality of your business. And misrepresentations and losing your credibility, it's just not worth it because you can go to jail. You can ruin your reputation. You can burn yourself with employees, with stakeholders, investors, your customers. Be honest in all things, accept the reality of your startup, and the truth shall make you free. One of the issues we had at a company I was at was that people were not renewing. And, we did have sales rising, but at the same time we had churn problems. And I said, what's the story with the churn? And they were like, yeah, we're growing. And I was like, but are we growing, or are we on a treadmill that is not sustainable? And we just had a candid discussion about it. And I said, can we just talk to everybody and ask them to answer and give them a prompt and say, check all that apply? Why did you stop using Acme's product? Too expensive, not enough value, too slow, couldn't understand it, found a better solution, other. And we just let them check it off. And, it wasn't price. It was that they didn't understand how to use the product. And so it was like, okay, product's too complex. We got to simplify this thing. Or they didn't get enough value from it. Okay, they don't know the features. So it's a training issue. Okay, let's do training. Let's train people on how to use this. Let's invest in a customer success person, right? The truth shall make you free. All right, everybody. This wraps up the startup checklist. 100 items across 10 episodes of This Week in Startups. Hardest working team in startup land put this together. Thank you to Charlie, Nick, Jackie, Ashley, who else worked
Presh,
on there?
Marine.
Presh, Marine. So many great
Rachel,
people. Rachel, Justin, everybody worked on it. Did a great job. Thank you so much. It's a great list. Share it. Feel free to remix it. You can copy it. You can change it. Just link back to the original thisweekinstartups.com/checklist. thisweekinstartups.com/checklist. And we'll see you next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.
Great. And I got an intro for you right below it.
3, 2. Okay, everybody, it's a big show today. We're doing episode 10, the final show of the startup checklist. You can see the entire startup checklist at thisweekinstartups.com/checklist. But first, I'm going to cover the news. Brian Armstrong and Tether skipped the crypto hearings this week. They got called out by a senator. And Adele has a new residency at Caesars Palace in Vegas. And people and bots are buying up her tickets and reselling them for $30,000. I got a really interesting idea of how to use crypto to solve this problem. Stick with us. It's going to be a great episode.
Great. Now I need a couple ad reads.
Oh, you
Yeah,
sneaky.
sorry.
Yes, you sneak.
But you like them all, so it's okay.
You sneak. You sneaked me. You didn't tell me that at the beginning. Okay, here we go. Ads. Ad copy. I got it. All right. Which ones? LinkedIn Odoo and LinkedIn Jobs?
Yep, the three of them that are right there.
Okay, here we go. We're starting with LinkedIn marketing in 3, 2. Before I start the ad read, please go to linkedin.com/checklist. And you're going to get a $100 credit towards your first ad campaign on LinkedIn. All right, let's get to the ad read. Every startup founder and marketer has been in this situation before. You're planning to launch your new campaign. You know your audience, your team is happy, and everything is going according to plan. Except for that one thought in the back of your head. How can I be sure my acquisition campaign will drive high impact leads for my sales team? You need those high quality leads, of course. And with LinkedIn ads, you don't need to guess, because when you advertise on LinkedIn, your message reaches people who are ready to engage, because LinkedIn equals business, business equals LinkedIn. They're in that business mindset. Over 30 million companies are active on LinkedIn. 30 million companies, and over 71% of professionals use LinkedIn to make business decisions. You know that because you're on LinkedIn making business decisions every week. In my case, multiple times a day. So once again, the call to action is very simple. Startup marketers don't wait to start achieving your brand and lead gen goals. LinkedIn is offering our listeners here at This Week in Startups a $100 ad credit to get started today. Get that $100 ad credit for your first LinkedIn campaign at linkedin.com/checklist. Terms and conditions apply, because when you go to linkedin.com/checklist, you're going to get a $100. Okay. Great job, LinkedIn.
No pickups. Odoo.
3, 2. If you listen to This Week in Startups often, you've heard me talk about Odoo's suite of business apps a lot. Well, they're going to give you your first app free forever and $1,000 off your first implementation pack at odoo.com/twist, odoo.com/twist. And here's why Odoo is so great for startups. Their suite of business apps helps you run your entire company on one platform, and they'll streamline workflows by bringing all your information together. This eliminates annoying repetitive tasks like entering data across multiple platforms. Plus, if you only need 2 or 3 apps to optimize your workflow, well, that's all you pay for. Odoo will not charge you for apps you don't use. And Odoo offers over 30 main apps plus 16,000 apps from their open source community. Their apps include bookkeeping, sales, and CRM, website builders, and more. So once again, the call to action is easy. I want you to grab $1,000 right now. Your first app is always free, and Odoo is offering $1,000 credit on your first implementation pack. I kid you not. Go to odoo.com/twist to get $1,000 off. That's odoo.com/twist.
Good.
All right, last one, LinkedIn Jobs 3-2. Before we get to the ad read, just go to linkedin.com/twist and post your first job for free. I know you're looking for talent. It's really hard out there. The great resignation. There's a lot of people who have quit their jobs. Well, here's the good news. You're going to get your first job posting on LinkedIn for free at linkedin.com/twist. And you're going to pick up some of that amazing talent that is recently on the market to solve the problems that you have at your company. It's so hard to find the right candidates for your business. You know that. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has made it so easy to find the people you want to talk to faster and now for free. In just minutes, you can post your job on LinkedIn and reach the world's largest professional network of over 770 million people. Think about that for a second. They're almost up to 1 billion people on LinkedIn. You can use screening questions to filter for only the most qualified candidates, and then LinkedIn lets you quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. We love LinkedIn Jobs here. And in 2022, we're going to do more hiring on the platform as our team grows. I found so many great team members on LinkedIn already. So here's the call to action. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/twist. That's linkedin.com/TWIST to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply because they're giving you something for free because they love you.
Done.
They love our audience.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, rate my ad reads. Rate my ad reads on a scale of 1 to 10 to my noties. I think I did okay. Whoa, 6.9. What? Come on. Give me a good ad read. Any questions for J-Cow?
A lot of love today for the checklist and for the Guess the Fix startup segment.
Everybody likes a little fun, you know. Let's have a little bit of fun on the show. Easy breezy. Look at that. 11s, 10s, 9.4s, 9.5. Great stuff. Thank you, OG Bob G. Thank you, Patrick, Miguel. Thanks, everybody. Really great show. All righty. Lots of meetups going on. If you want to meet other founders, supporting founders, thisweekinstartups.com/meetups. Thisweekinstartups.com/meetups. Rachel has 15 cities. I gave her the goal of 10. She hit 15 and the year's not over. 15 cities have now hosted meetup number 1 or are planning meetup number 1. Which is it, Rachel?
She had to drop off. It's her birthday, so she's going to Broadway play with her mom tonight.
Oh, Broadway play. Very nice. So that's the meetups. And
I think it was
15.
4 had gone on to meetup 3.
Yeah.
Out of the 15, and then somewhere in between we're on meetup 2. I think that's what it was.
That's great. We are making these events for founders by founders. They're not to sell real estate or recruiting services, insurance, whatever. It's great if you want to do all that stuff. We have advertisers on the program who do a great job of that. But this is just like little founder think tanks. And we're going to do a Zoom meeting with up to 20 founders in a city in between when they meet in person. And at those online support groups, basically, where people are going to support each other, you're going to start, if you're a founder, with 19 other founders in your city. Let's say it's New York or it's Boston or Philly, San Francisco, LA, San Diego. You're going to say, hey, this is what I'm crushing it with. My sales is great. And here's where I'm struggling, customer support. My product is awesome, but my marketing sucks. I'm great at fundraising. I'm bad at hiring developers. Everybody goes around the table. It's a new format I'm coming up with, which is my biggest strength, my biggest weakness, safe space, 20 people on Zoom. Everybody gets 1 minute to go around that or so. That takes under 20 minutes. And then the next 40 minutes, people will break into groups and start chatting about solutions. So the moderator will say, okay, we have 7 people who are having a hard time hiring developers. Let's talk about that first. Okay, the next issue, we had 6 people who are having a hard time raising money. We're going to talk about that. If you want to talk about raising money, go to this breakout room. If you want to talk about hiring developers, go to this one. Everybody else stay in this room. We're going to do a roundtable. You get the idea. I think they call them masterminds, but those have a bad reputation of being a way for grifters to get money from people. These are going to be free for founders. I'm looking to be more supportive of up and coming founders. So that's
I have
why
one
we
good
created
question
Meetups.
for you that I think you'll enjoy answering.
Okay, here we go. The question for JCal, let's take a question from the audience. What type of startups are you looking for as part of the open scouting for the syndicate? Okay, there's 4 categories in venture business models essentially that work really well. SaaS, software as a service. Consumer subscription like com.com where you pay monthly, or Netflix. Marketplaces like Uber, Postmates, Airbnb, eBay, you get the idea. And financial services like Wealthfront, Coinbase, Robinhood, etc., Square. So those are the big 4 right now. Those 4 can't go wrong meeting those kind of companies. And then there are companies that are really hard to make work. Consumer packaged goods and physical products and hardware. There is an exception, hardware as a service. HaaS, like Density, or CafeX now is selling their machines and charging a monthly fee. So if you're Illy Espresso, or if you were Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks or any other brand, or you were the 49ers or the Giants or the Lakers, you could put CafeX machines in with your local coffee brand. You know, if you had like a local coffee brand like Intelligentsia in LA, you could make Intelligentsia CafeX machines. So hardware as a service is pretty good. OpenScouting.com. If you meet a great startup, you find a great startup, you know, it takes you less than 2 minutes to put it in there. And I think we're getting a good number per week. And we look at every single one. We don't get back to you unless we've met with the company and we think it's a possibility. So, but, you know, just go ahead and submit there. If we wind up investing, we give you your choice of $5,000 in cold hard cash, or 10% of our carry if we do invest in the company. So you can take the quick money, or you can take the long-term money, whichever one you prefer. Great question. OpenScouting.com. That's another one of those experiments that I had during the pandemic. I was losing my mind, couldn't go out. So I just started creating projects. All in, Open Scouting, Remote Demo Day, the new book. What else? Create a couple other things. Anyway, created a bunch of stuff during that.
I mean, Twist went to 5 days a week.
5 days a week, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I heard they sold 6 days a week starting in the new year.
Yep, we're doing Sundays. Most Sundays.
Most
some
Sundays.
that we're taking off for if there's a holiday that Monday.
Which might be Molly Wood's, you know, climate tech energy show. I'm going to talk to her about that and see if she wants to do that on Sundays, or we'll have her do hers during the week and then we'll do a weekend recap or something like that. Or it could be just like the weekend interview, like the big interview that we think would be really cool to have on a Sunday. I don't want to tape on the weekends. I wanted to get that done during the week. Not that I'm opposed to taping on the weekend, but I would like to have my weekends. All right. Great job, everybody. Oh, you guys want to do it on the weekend? Okay, we'll tape it on Sunday. Everybody Sunday mornings will be like Meet the Press. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.